Many people have heard the phrase human abilities are limitless. However, not many know exactly how this actually works. Where do they get extra life reserves from? There are truly miracles of the human body, wonders of nature. As a proof of the above words, the case of saving our today's heroine rightly entered in history of modern medicine. Here is her survival story. Anna Elisabeth Johansson Bagenholm was born in 1970 in Vänersborg, Sweden. She was one of 8 children. At the time of the incident, she was 29 years old and studying to become an orthopedic surgeon. Bagenholm decided to do her residency in Narvik, Norway, and in May 1998, she became an assistant surgeon at the Narvik hospital. On that day, Bagenholm was skiing in the mountains outside of Narvik with 2 of her colleagues, Falkenberg and Torvind Næsheim. An expert skier, Bagenholm often skied after work in the Scandinavian mountains of Norway, the features of which, being a Swede, she knew quite well. The Scandinavian mountains of Norway, as in other countries, are low, about 2,000 meters. However, it is only in Norway they are very strongly dissected. There is a great abundance of narrow canyons, steep slopes and stepped ledges. No wonder the second name of Norway is the country of fjords. As she was heading down a steep mountainside, a route she had taken several times before, she lost control of her skis. She fell headfirst onto a layer of ice on a frozen stream near a waterfall, landing on her back. A hole opened up in the ice and Bagenholm's head and torso were pulled in as meltwater filled her clothes. Her body became trapped under the ice, which was 20 centimeters thick. When Falkenberg and Næsheim found Bagenholm, only her feet and skis were above the ice. Prolonged hypothermia can become fatal for the human body in the near future. Bear Grylls, an expert of survival, in his program named some of the most terrible factors influencing the cold on a human.
But the 3 real main dangers in this water are first of all what they call the gasp reflex, which is when you initially go in, you just gasp because of the shock. You breathe in water into your lungs and you drown. The second danger is cardiac arrest just from the shock of the water. And the third main danger is the most dangerous, is what kills most people, and it's just a numbing sensation, the cold. It slows your movement, saps all your strength, your coordination, and you just don't have the strength to call out again. And I can feel already my body temperature getting really low.
Bagenholm's colleagues made an attempt to free her but failed. At 6:27 p.m. local time, 7 minutes after she had fallen into the water, they called for help on a mobile phone. Police Lieutenant Bard Mikkelsen received the call and put together 2 rescue teams, one at the top of the mountain and one at the bottom. Mikkelsen also contacted the Bodo rescue team, which was equipped with a Sea King helicopter, but they told him that the helicopter had left to transport a sick child. Mikkelsen was persistent and convinced the dispatcher to turn the helicopter around. Falkenberg and Næsheim held onto Bagenholm's skis as they waited for the rescue teams to arrive. At first, Bagenholm struggled in the cold water before she found an air pocket and was able to remain conscious for 40 minutes before experiencing circulatory arrest. Ketil Singstad led the rescue team from the top of the mountain. He skied as fast as he could to Bagenholm's location, where he and his rescue team tried unsuccessfully to pull her out with a rope. They then tried to dig her out, but their snow shovel could not break through the ice. Rescuers from the bottom of the mountain then arrived, bringing with them a pointed gardening shovel. They were able to cut a hole in the ice and pulled her through at 7:40 p.m. Bagenholm had been in the water for 80 minutes when she was rescued. The rescue helicopter soon arrived and Bagenholm was taken to the Tromsø University Hospital in an hour. Her body temperature at this point was 13.7 Celsius degrees, the lowest survived body temperature ever recorded in a human with accidental hypothermia at the time. Dr. Mads Gilbert, an anesthesiologist and the chief of the hospital's emergency room, proceeded with the resuscitation attempt. He commented on Bagenholm's state.
She has completely dilated pupils. She is ashen, flaxen white. She's wet. She's ice cold when I touch her skin, and she looks absolutely dead.
Gilbert had treated many cases of hypothermia before because of the cold climate in Norway and knew how to treat Bagenholm. The electrocardiogram connected to her showed no signs of life, but Gilbert knew patients should be warmed up before you declare them dead. He and his team hoped Bagenholm's brain had received enough oxygen from the CPR she was given after her rescue. Bagenholm was taken to the operating theater, where a team of more than 100 doctors and nurses worked in shifts for 9 hours to save her life. At 9:40 p.m., she was connected to a cardiopulmonary bypass machine that warmed up her blood outside of her body before it was reinserted into her veins. Bagenholm's first heartbeat was recorded at 10:15 p.m., and her body temperature had risen to 36.4 Celsius degrees at 0:49 a.m. Bagenholm's lung function deteriorated at 2:20 a.m., and she spent the following 35 days connected to a ventilator. Bagenholm soon began to show signs of vitality and woke up paralyzed from the neck down on May 30th. She feared she would spend the rest of her life on her back and was angry with her colleagues for saving her. Bagenholm soon recovered from the paralysis and later apologized to her friends.
I was very irritated when I realized they had saved me. I feared a meaningless life, without any dignity. Now I am very happy to be alive and want to apologize.
Bagenholm's kidneys and digestive system were not working properly, so she had to recover in an intensive care unit for 2 more months. After spending 28 days in the Tromsø intensive care unit, she was flown to Sweden in an ambulance helicopter for the remainder of her recovery. Dr. Petter Andreas Steen, professor at the National Hospital in Oslo, said it was an extraordinary medical achievement that Bagenholm's life could be saved. He believed the reason she was able to recover was her metabolism slowed down during the incident, and the tissues inside her body required less oxygen at the low temperatures. Despite the severe damage to Bagenholm's body, no permanent brain damage was diagnosed. Gilbert commented on this.
Her body had time to cool down completely before the heart stopped. Her brain was so cold when the heart stopped, the brain cells needed very little oxygen, so the brain could survive for quite a prolonged time.
Gilbert also noted that therapeutic hypothermia, a method used to save those in circulatory arrest by lowering their body temperature, has become more frequent at Norwegian hospitals after Bagenholm's case gained fame. According to BBC, most patients who have extreme hypothermia die, even if doctors are able to restart their hearts. The survival rate for adults whose body temperature has decreased to below 28 Celsius degrees is 10% to 33%. The persons who experience extreme hypothermia are often mistakenly thought dead because it can be difficult to detect a pulse on them. He said this case really does bring it home to us, how cautious one has to be before diagnosing death in people who are cold.
So now I'm back to